by the end of May, President Obama is going to go to Chicago to the meeting of NATO heads of state. He's going to stand up there and say that we won in Afghanistan and we're going to leave, maybe by December 2013, maybe by sometime in 2014. The truth of the matter is that Afghanistan is probably a major strategic failure for the United States. After the decade that Chris mentioned, we've come full circle. Sometime after we leave, or maybe even before, the Taliban will be back in Kabul. Everything that we've said, we've done, the $1 trillion that we've spent will pretty much be for naught. Now, we can continue to discuss why Afghanistan has gone sideways and then downwards, but a big part of this is a singular failure of American policy on Pakistan. I spent 2 years in the government, and I still can't figure out what do we want in Pakistan. We have short-run goals, we have long-run goals. We don't know whether Pakistan is more important than Afghanistan. We don't know whether Afghanistan is more important than Pakistan. We are clueless. And we've been trying a strategy a week with Pakistan. We're going to be their best friend, and then we're going to be their worst enemy. We go from trying to hug them really tight to declaring them a terrorist state. All of it within the span of a single policy-making cycle. I'm actually surprised that Pakistanis haven't got dizzy with the rotation that we've been having. The problem is, fundamentally, I do believe that Pakistan has followed a very wrong-headed strategy for a very long time. It goes back to the 1970s. It goes back even before 1970s. The bug of India that they've never got over. There are many problems there, but the issue is not debating whether Pakistan is right or wrong. To me, it's very clear they're wrong. The question is, what do we do about it, and how can you get them on the right track? And I think the fundamental issue is that we were never able to, at least in the time I was in the government, we were never able to convince Pakistan that we knew what on earth we were doing, or the wisdom of our ways. They never believed that the sending more troops in Afghanistan would work. They never believed we would stay, and we proved them right. And so it's not a surprise that they're ignoring us completely. They're just waiting for us to go so the region can get on with its business. And I think at some point we're going to realize, as Chris said, that really Afghanistan doesn't matter. It's really Pakistan that matters. Ultimately, you're looking at a country, and I'm much more pessimistic than Saeed here. You're looking at a country of 180 million people, which by 2050 will be 325 million people. It'll be the largest Muslim country. It is running out of water. It's running out of electricity. It has an extremely young population. It has good institutions to work with, but it has very poor leadership. It has many wrong trends in it. The economic trends are wrong. The institutional trends are wrong. Pakistan had a better functioning state 2 decades ago than it has today. It provided more social services to its population than it did today. There is one thing that Pakistan has excelled at, and that is mastering a nuclear technology. It makes better bombs than India. It makes them at a faster pace. It has a much better nuclear weapons program than its neighbor. And, there's a lot to worry about Pakistan. I mean, I remember late Richard Holbrooke would say that if we don't watch out, you're going to be dealing with a 300 million man Gaza Strip. That is a far higher strategic priority for the United States. Fixing Pakistan is a strategic priority. But that's not what we've been doing all these years. We've been just trying to get the Pakistanis to cooperate in Afghanistan. But we're not actually interested in Pakistan itself. Now, Chris mentioned that there is elections coming in Pakistan. The economy in Pakistan is big news. Saeed mentioned there are important social trends in Pakistan. And not all of it at once is bad. Pakistan actually has a very interesting, vibrant music scene. There are other things happening among the youth than just extremism. But if you went, 100 miles south of here in the direction of Washington, none of that exists. We are only interested in one thing in Pakistan after Afghanistan, that's drones. That's our only conversation with Pakistan is about drones. It's about how we can attack Al-Qaeda. We're not interested in anything else. Nobody in the government is monitoring elections or cares about them other than low-level people. So Pakistan Pakistan has its own problems, but Pakistan also is symbolic of a major American policy failure. End of the day, American public doesn't want to have anything to do with Afghanistan. Really doesn't want to have anything. You look at the polls. The president is right in thinking that politically this is not a popular war. But when we're gone, who's going to take responsibility for that territory? Who's going to make sure that, women are not abused, schools are open, the government doesn't fall, you're not going to have a vicious civil war, Al-Qaeda is not going to return. So either we're going to go back at some point, or we have to go knock on the door in Islamabad and say, can you please take responsibility for this territory? And that's not the way we're looking at this at all. So the way things have turned up with Pakistan really puts to question what's the end game in Afghanistan for us. Unless you really believe that there's going to be a 400,000-man Afghan army taking responsibility for that country. I think that picture has shifted. I think the Iranians think that the United States is a bigger problem than the Taliban. They're not as worried about the Taliban as having permanent U.S. bases next to them, especially after a stealth drone somehow lost its way into Iranian territory and was shot down. Iranians' influence in Afghanistan is somewhat different than Pakistan. Pakistan has put all of its eggs on the Taliban and on this insurgency. The Iranians, as in Iraq, have far deeper and more pervasive influence that is in the Afghan parliament, in the palace, in northern Afghanistan with businessmen. In the south, it's much more economic. They sell electricity to Afghanistan. And you're right. I mean, there is no way that we can succeed in Afghanistan if the two most important neighbors are excluded. So with Iran, we say we just simply will not deal with them because the nuclear issue is more important than Afghanistan. And that we laid down and refused to deal with them, not even to the extent that we dealt with them in Iraq. At the beginning, we claimed that at least Pakistan was part of the strategy. Now we're following a policy of sort of going solo in Afghanistan. The Pakistanis are not at the table. We're actually trying to bully them to give up on the Taliban, and they're refusing. And with the Iranians, we're not dealing at all. And if we looked at the meeting that happened in Pakistan last month when the Pakistan government invited the Iranian president and President Karzai, so the first time the Pakistanis took an initiative of having a trilateral meeting, I mean, I would read it that Pakistan and Iran are going to work together and going to ignore the United States, and they're going to have their own strategy for Afghanistan. And I would assume that's what they were conveying to President Karzai, saying, listen, the Americans are going to go, but we're going to be together for a while. And you need to listen to us and not put your eggs in that basket.